Welcome to All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast on all platforms every Friday. Clinched is a sports app that helps link clubs with coaches. If you were a coach in rugby, soccer or GAA and you are ready for your next role or your first role, download and sign up to Clinched app for free today.
And Leinster looking to counter here. Sean O'Brien, well, if there's one player who can take a hit from Courtney Lord and stand and see it off and bounce off.
Raised thanks to the accurate free-taking of John Doyle. 2 points between the teams.
Football is very, and maybe in that moment should have slipped maybe very to go. Like, they can have a conversation and say, I'm going to make that decision, but it ultimately comes down to them.
Hello and you're welcome back to episode 8 of All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. I'm Podge Johnny, your host, and I'm joined by Johnny Dial and for the first time Shane Molloy, our CTO at Clinched, joins us tonight. Thankfully we've a bit of good weather, but that means Sean is busy on the farm, so he's out of action. But we've
I never seen the farmers. They're great if it's too hot. They're looking for rain. If it's there's always something to be done. They're very rain or weather dependent. But he's busy on the farm, so we give him an evening off. I don't know whether it's in the contract or not, but we'll give him it off anyway.
We've a well-able replacement that
I don't know about that.
No, it's nothing to do. It's nothing to do with the fact that he's cattle to be fed. Right? He's a home son himself.
He does strike you as a sunbed.
He does.
What did he say? I have to get this sown.
We won't give him too much stick.
We're not going to argue with him.
No.
Look, as I say, we're delighted to be joined by Shane. I suppose this whole podcast is based around our app Clinched and trying to link coaches and managers with clubs. So I suppose Shane was the first when I came up with this idea. Shane was the first person I approached, and we just sat down, had a chat, and went from there. Lots of ideas, lots of hard work that's got in since. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of headaches, and everything that goes with it. But I suppose, Shane, we've got to a good place, and we're pretty happy with how we've started anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I think we're coming up to it's in around. I think it was last week or something. I remember a memory came up on the phone a while ago that. When you first approached me, I remember how are we going to do this? And I remember a screenshot how to start an app, and I sent it to you. And that was actually last week, 3 years ago, I think it was. So that's that
was before AI as well, wasn't it? You had AI then.
We had AI, we were laughing, I tell you that. But no, I remember, I still I remember the day I was working from home, and I was at the desk anyway, and I don't know what it was, but sure, for anyone who doesn't know, we'd be great friends. We were talking mostly every day anyway, and we were talking about something, and you said, lad, I have an idea. And I said, oh my God,
this could end in tears.
What is this now? This could be anything. And then you wrote me this big long message, and I remember reading and thinking, all I kept thinking was, sure, that's out there, has to be out there, someone has to be doing that. That's definitely a given. And you were like, no, I definitely don't think so. It can't be. I've looked everywhere. I thought of it a couple of days ago, and I was like, right, grand. And I said, I was working from home, and I think you were off. I don't know what it was anyway, but
probably summer holidays
it was
Easter break or midterm.
It must have been Easter break anyway, because I think when I was texting him, he was panned out on the couch, and it was a Wednesday at lunchtime, so it wouldn't be like him anyway. But he, remember I said pop down then, but. I'll never forget. What do you have? Do you have any ideas what to call it? And you text me, findthemanager.net, and I remember bursting out laughing and saying, well, first of all, if it's an app, you can't call it .net. And you text me back, I knew I went to the right person. I suppose since then, sure, it kind of grew since then. You came down, we had a chat about it, and we always say, it started at the kitchen table, which it more or less kind of did, and we had a good chat about it, and we got the kind of ball rolling, and it's just gone from strength to strength. Yeah, a lot of late nights, a lot of hair pulling, a lot of headaches. But I think no, for what it is now, like it's after flying by. Like if you had told us 3 years ago, we'd be sitting down recording podcasts with over, I think, nearly 1,200 managers signed up, over 200 clubs, and after I think the success rate there since we launched there and GA season there, we there was over 50 clubs bought lists, and a lot of them found managers out of it. Like, you know, so if you had said that 3 years ago, you would have said, like, you would have took one, like, you know. So it's no, it's gone from strength to strength, and sure, look where we're going now. Like, is like, I think it's going to be massive anyway, and it's exceeded my expectations already. But like what we have in the pipeline, and we won't say too much now, like what we have planned, like, but we have a lot of stuff planned, and there's a lot of stuff in the works, and I think it's going to be good anyway, like, you know.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I suppose the original, we probably would have went through maybe in a club maybe 5 managers in 5 seasons, and you know, and that some good managers, and they moved on, and maybe some that didn't work out. But each year it was like going back to the drawing board of ringing lads, and it was kind of nearly like the same names coming up.
Yeah.
You know, he's not managing X, Y, and Z this year, and it's nearly like a merry-go-round at times, and it's harder to get in than to get out. And that's kind of, I suppose, that process of ringing, and you know, and the game was evolving so much that, you know, there is young coaches out there, you know, that are mad to get in, mad to share their ideas, and how do you put your name out there? And it can be difficult too.
It's an Irish thing, really. You don't like putting it because you're thinking, oh, who would you think I am? You know, who do people think you are? Sure, you're only finished playing, or you played maybe and your injury got the better of you, or whatever reason you maybe not playing. Like, you don't know, oh, well, I'm not going to apply for this job or that, sure, they wouldn't. But where now it just makes it so easy. And look at if you get a call off it, you get a call. If you don't, you know, and plus you can apply maybe for a couple of different, you know, different jobs or whatever that are out there. You might even want to get involved in the coaching side of things if there's not actually, because the management can be the hardest. The most enjoyable sometimes is when you can, you know, get out onto the field and run a session. Sometimes the managing is the hardest part, is looking after everyone's problem's your problem, and that can be, so there's something there for everyone, which is great, and look at it, it works, you know. So.
And like from my own perspective, I thought, like, when we started developing the idea, like, personally, like, I would have played with Podge growing up, and I would have played senior with Leinster and stuff like that, but that would have been the draw, if so, like, that would have been the line drawn with me, like, so I always kind of, like, I'm football mad, and like, you train the underage teams down below, like, you know, and I'm manager of the under 5s now, and we're going to be picking on very well now, but like, if I always thought, from my perspective, like, I'd never ring a local club, or I'd never ring like a neighbouring county club in Carlow or Laois and say, look, I'm going to go, well, geez, who are you, like, you know? And it's kind of like, whereas if I had something that I could go, I can apply, no one knows I'm after applying, and I can fill out, like, I wouldn't have much manager experience, only underage, but I could play out a bit of playing experience, and even if I got called for an interview, you could feel like you could sell yourself then, because, like, it's that type of way, like, and I always kind of thought that way about it, like, because if to get started, and for if you're not known, like, if you haven't played inter-county, or you haven't even played inter-county underage or all like that, like, to try get that foot on the first round, like, you know, and look, you might get pulled into an under-20s team or something like that, but it's that initial kickoff, and I think it's like we always said from the get-go, like, I suppose, like, it's finding that diamond in the rough that you might never have heard of. And you know, you alluded to a couple of times, Johnny, like, the lad down the road that moved into the area that you might have known about, like, you know.
And I suppose you say it's the opportunity to sell yourself. Like, when I was maybe meeting 2 or 3 lads local to show them the app at the start, the big thing was, you know, who can see my view my profile, and it's kind of, it goes back to that, oh jeez, can lads, but no one can see you're on it, and that power's in your hands. That Nerney are looking for a manager, well, I can put my name in there, who can see? No one can see, bar Nerney decide we're going to view the list, and they're the only people seeing it. It gives you that privacy. And on the other hand, you know, I remember another person coming to me saying, "Just, I've my details up there, and I actually don't want them on show," but they're not on show again.
But even for the club, like, the starting point to say, well, right, here we go, we have 6 people have expressed an interest in our job. That is a huge starting point. Do you know, because look, I've went through it with my own club. You know, every couple of years, maybe manager, you know, work gets busy or family life gets busy, and they move on or whatever, and it is painful. It's actually painful to have to go through the whole ringing, and half an hour later you're still talking, and then he tells someone else by the time you get to the 7th or 8th lad, oh yeah, I heard you were on to Party Forward, am I far down the list? And there's you're like, oh shit.
And then you have to carry the conversation.
I know, and you're thinking, oh my God. So, you know, that aspect of it is I think for clubs is just, listen, we've 10 lads that are interested, okay, they look at the list and say, well, look at John Dial, no, Shane, I never thought of Shane Molloy, or I never thought of, it's great to get to chat them and see, and you're both stepping into that conversation knowing that you both have expressed an interest in each other.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's a huge starting point, and
Yeah.
the big thing about it is, I know you're going to maybe talk a little bit about this. It works for Gaelic football. It works for hurling. It works for camogie. It works for ladies football. It works for rugby. It works for soccer. It can work for lacrosse in America. Yeah, you know, because you're dealing with a club and a coach. Location is regardless of it, you know.
Yeah, and that is, like, I suppose, talked about coming up with the idea, went down, it was purely based around GA, and you know, and when we got speaking about it, and when we came up to Brendan, and then when yourself came on board, Johnny, that was like, hold on now a minute, if this can work in GA, why can't it work in other sports? And look, we were lucky enough to get Sean on board, and I suppose, speaking to him, we're 3 GAA fellas, you know, maybe we don't know the ins and outs of how rugby works or how soccer works or any of these sports, where, you know, our first conversation with Sean was, this is our idea, what do you think rugby wise? And straight away he was, sure, of course it'd work.
He loved it straight away.
It's same issues that they have with rugby. So, and I suppose with the rugby season coming up now, it's nice to be dipping our toe in with rugby and exciting.
Yeah, it's good. Like when we launched in October there, we had rugby and GAA on it, like, you know. So the uptake in GAA obviously in October was massive, like, you know, but we're coming into rugby season now. Sure, obviously the Towns Cup was at the weekend, the AIL relegations and promotions were at the weekend as well, like, you know, so we're just at the tail end of rugby. So we'll start,
and a big shout out to Attai, in fairness.
A big shout out, that's right,
yeah, brilliant, well done.
Local club.
Yeah.
But we, so like, it obviously was going to be slow to take off then, but now we're hitting into peak rugby season, and like, so like, at the moment on the app you can go download it and you can sign up for rugby, whether you're a head coach or a scrum coach, forwards coach, or if you're a club as well, like, or a school or a university. That's available now, and we also have a couple of nice updates in the pipeline for coaches, and they're being developed at the moment, and we're probably going to be releasing them in maybe a week, 2 weeks time, like, you know. So constantly working on it in the background with updates and stuff like that. So it's there for the ladies to download at the moment and sign up to them. Same with the clubs, and we've a lot of good new features coming in the next couple of weeks that are rugby specific as well. And then, of course, as alluded to, we won't give too much away now, but a lot of stuff in the pipeline for this year too.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose what gives us a lot of confidence was the joy we got out of GA and club signing up and taking on the list, and then finding managers off it, and you know, a few clubs there that are going quite well, and it's great to see. But we can see it works, and we can see from feedback from clubs and from volunteers that the time it's saved, and that's the big thing. Time is saved, getting the right person in place and moving forward.
I had like, just while you're talking about it, like, I'll never forget, like, I was talking to someone from a club, and they hadn't downloaded the app because they were going the old school route of it. And I'll never forget, he told me, the lad who was kind of looking after, there was a committee for them looking for the next manager, and he said, I'm after ringing 24 people and I can't get one. And this was a Tuesday. He rang me about setting up the profile and all like that, because I know him, and we talked through it and all. He set it up. He put out the vacancy on the Tuesday. He let it go for a week or 2 weeks, and he had 5 or 6 applicants on it. And not only did he get a manager over it, he got the manager and he got the coach off it. So, like, it's just, there you are, like he said, hours upon hours.
Yeah, and probably, as you said, 2 lads that he never would have thought of or contacted.
Never. And the two lads actually were, from from the same county and wouldn't have known each other, but apparently getting on great and the team's flying and stuff like that, like, you know. So not only is it bringing clubs and managers together, it's nearly bringing managers and coaches together, which we never seen happening. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
but as you said, the benefit going forward, and we are looking to, you know, put more features to help clubs. It's going to be a brilliant resource, you know, and it's there on your phone, you know, as we all do to a fault at times. And we're watching the telly and eating the dinner and on the phone and trying to do homework or whatever, you know. But it's so accessible there to see what's actually happening. You know, I need this, I need to get that, I need, you know, and it's just there, and it's all in the one place, and you're not looking at emails, or you're not looking, which is going to be huge going forward. And I suppose that's where we feel is the end is it's endless, like, of the possibility. So I know it's easy for me, and you're the technical man at the back of it all.
I don't know about that.
There's no end to where it can go. So hopefully,
not.
Yeah, definitely. And it is exciting, and all the time, I suppose, trying to come up with new ideas. But as you say, a lot in the pipeline, a lot to
a lot to pipeline, a lot to look forward to, and like, it's going to be a big year for us as well, like, you know. So
and even, you know, like, it's amazing. Even, you know, I'd be so focused on GA and, you know, different, but you're thinking about different lads involved in rugby within, and, you know, I spoke to a couple of them, said, listen, this is ready to go here now, and I got Jenny, you know, just, they're going to get signed up. Some of the schools looking to sign up just to see, you know, and it doesn't mean that you have to have a vacancy at the moment. You know, just sign up, get yourself on it. You know, there'll be different resources that come online, and then, as I say, as vacancies come up, they can post. It's free for them to post a vacancy.
Exactly,
So nothing to lose.
Free to sign up, yeah.
So free to sign up, So all's good.
So sign up if you're listening.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's exciting times ahead. I suppose looking back on last weekend, disappointment for Kildare, and joy for Louth and Meath. I suppose we'll start with the Kildare match. You know, probably played well at times. Felt probably done enough to win the game, but didn't.
Yeah, well, look at that. Look at, when all is said and done, that's the object of the exercise. You go to win, and as a player and management team, you don't really care about performance. You just want to get over the line. The prize was huge. Obviously, a Leinster final. Probably all felt it was going to be Dublin. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But certainly from a Kildare point of view, you know, they came out of the blocks really fast, kicked some huge scores, went 8-2 up, I think.
Yeah, 8-2
yeah. They were in a really good place, and like, I was listening to Brian Flanagan on the radio on the way home, like, and, you know, to go in 4 points down at half time, it's like, it's a 10-point swing, and they didn't deserve to, but, you know, getting the goal is at the really wrong time. It's so often that, you know, that 5 minutes before half time is crucial. Just keep, you know, slow it down if you have to. But Louth came hard at Kildare and kicked, you know, Samuel Wright kicks on a boomer of a 2-pointer, and then they get in for the goal, and, you know, just I felt the people around me, the Kildare people around me, were nearly deflated at going in at half time, because we put in probably as good a performance as we have all year in that first 20 minutes, really. So that was disappointing, and then, but, you know, came back and in the second half, and, you know, kicked some good scores, you know, kept, and then just, you felt at times, look, it was, and I know it's very, very easy from sitting up on the stand, but like, there was a couple of opportunities to think, okay, the 2-pointers on, have a go, and that was disappointing that they didn't, you know. And I walked onto the field after, I was thinking maybe the wind was stronger than I thought it was. When you're looking at the flags on the sideline, there was no movement, but yet up at the back where they had the tricolour and the Kildare, there was a bit of a breeze sort of blowing a little bit across the field, but didn't have a go at those 2-pointers, and then you see Tommy Dernan going down the far end, and, you know, if you give him 10 balls, he'll tell you he'd kick 9, but I'm not so sure, you know, but he had a go, and it's that 1 hour one. That killed
I
us.
remember, I went with the Owlad, and it was my first time going with him in, I think it was 22 years. The last one we actually went to together, I'd say you were on the pitch. I think it was funny. Last one we went
there, Johnny.
2 years ago.
The last one we went to, actually, Kildare played Louth, and it was up in Croker. I don't know if I think it was 02 or 03. I can't remember anyway. But it was 23 or 2 or 3 years ago. So I said to him last week, we go down and have a look at it. But I hadn't watched them all year. No, I hadn't watched them all year. But like the first 5 minutes, I looked at him and was like, where has this come out? They're absolutely motoring. But it's like what you said. Like I was the terrace side, kind of down towards where we were kicking in the second half, and you could hear the crowd like roaring for the 2-pointer, and you could see them hovering in around the D, and like they were going to set, and then suddenly it wouldn't happen, and then it wouldn't, and a couple of times, just as you think it was going to happen, next thing they break down or something like that, and they go down. But yeah, when he, Jesus, I know Tommy Durr, you know Tom from Carlow, like, you know, when he kicked it, I was like, oh my God, he'd never kick another one, it said.
It was a massive score, but like, I suppose you all saying his goals win games, like, but 2-pointers, they're such a swing now.
Huge.
And like, I think Cottle Hagney was the only one that shot at. Like,
he attempted one,
have one attempt at a 2-pointer, like, as you say, you have to have a go. And I'm not saying that you're going pulling the trigger from everywhere, but it certainly looked like there was more opportunities. Like, it's a real, like, as you say, Mulroy kicked one really free from a good distance out, and then he kicks the 2-pointer from play. Like, what was it, 3 in the end? They kicked 3 2-pointers. Clare didn't kick any.
No.
Like,
and like, we're capable of kicking them. Like, Alex Byrne is a good boot in them. Derek Cowan is a good boot. Ben McCormack,
Brian McLaughlin.
Yeah. Like, even David Hyland the first day against Westmeath.
Yeah, that was a screamer.
He was just on the 45 and just has a goal. Like,
yeah,
you know. And I know
there was one stage I think they had a free on the edge of the arc, and I think Keane Burke was making his way up, and they went quick and got a point. But like,
I think Kevin Feely came across. I thought Kevin Feely was going to have a go at. And whether he didn't fancy it or didn't thought the wind, I think I'm not sure who he gave it. He kicked it short, kicked it back.
They got a point off it, but I just, it's right on the edge of the arc.
You have to be brave. You have to be brave.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it brave. Like,
that one, no, exactly.
Yeah, and it's just.
But then again, Podge, like we two, if not 3 really good goal chances, didn't get any of them, and probably 2 half chances then as well. Yeah. You know, like, you have to, at this level, you have to be nailing them.
Yeah,
you have
and
to.
I know, like, Dara, I seen one where someone said in a tweet, he got a bit woolly, he's electrified but frustrated at the same time, and like at times like couldn't handle him, and
he looked majestic at times, and then
really had all the momentum. And look, the goal chance, they got back across. I wouldn't have been as critical of missing that one, but you nearly felt if Kildare got the goal at that stage, they had all the momentum. They were hurting now and
get the crowd behind them, and you know it was just big moments in big games, and you know, and that's like. You know, I'm not being critical of the Darrow or Alex or Ben, but that's why they're the big players. They need to produce on the big day, and you know,
absolutely. And look, in fairness, like they were probably the 2 that were leading the attack.
Absolutely.
Alex kicked a few big scores. I know someone kind of said was critical going for a goal from 21, but look, he done it for Naas, and it went in, and he's a great lad.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I wouldn't have been critical of that.
We can't maybe be critical of not having a go based on results. You know, if he thought it was on, he was right to have a go. The same, like, it can't be. Well, if you can have a go if you kick it over the bar. Like, that's not the way it works. Have a go. You know, if it goes over, great. If it doesn't, well, if you still think it's on, you should do the right thing. And like, it was some run, and as you say, we've seen Alex put them away at that stage. You know, and it was. Just whisked across by the post, so I wouldn't be critical at all for having a go. There was another couple of times, I'm not sure who got on and fisted it over the bar. You're thinking another step now, and it's on, like, you know. So
in the corner.
He missed one in the first half. I think he came onto his right foot, but again, his future is so bright. But to be the top player, you have to be able to be as comfortable off your. Yeah,
he's probably not the most. He's very good left foot, but he's probably.
He needs to develop that.
Yeah, you'd have to, as you say, if in them situations. And look, they actually early on looked to get a bit of joy with them long balls with Sinky and Gorman. And I know that maybe the opportunities weren't on to do it. Even talking about 4-pointers or 2-pointers, should I say. When Mulroy kicked the one on the edge of the arc, I was going, Jesus, how were they leaving Mulroy free? But I just was looking back today, and they done it so well that Mulroy was actually on the edge of the arc, but he kind of ran back towards his own half, and Hilo was kind of watching him, and obviously then had let him off kind of the halfway, but they done it very well in where they got a one-on-one situation kind of kind of
Like they
halfway,
fled for it, like.
halfway. Yeah, they did halfway between the kind of sideline and centre, and the player went to take on. I can't remember who. Maybe it was a wing back, but it sucked Hilo into.
Yeah,
he
double
got
up
the
nearly.
he had got the. He got the bit of a run on him, and Hilo did the wrong thing, going, "Oh, I'm going to close him." But your man nearly went, knowing that I'm going to try suck Hilo in here, and then it was kind of nearly a little kick, kind of low kick back out to Mullery. They worked it well, and finding the right man on the edge of
yeah, and he's a huge boo on him as well. You know,
Yeah.
it's
and I'd missed one just
plenty of
before it,
advantages.
but yeah,
you know, playing to your strengths.
Do you think, I know, like we thought, your two and Sean talked about there a couple of weeks ago about actually setting up the plays for it, but it's like when you talk like that, it's like it's nearly gone like basketball. Not that the basketball have the plays and they set around the D and they try to get the target man free with a certain play. That's nearly exactly the way they did it.
Yeah, I do think that
There is a bit of that.
Yeah, you wouldn't maybe see Mulray hanging out that far out before the.
But you'll hear them, like, even if it's for kickouts, or you know, sometimes you'll even hear them. You know, the overload, so they'll push it down once, you drag everyone over, and then, you know, get it across the field into the spaces quick. And you'll hear them calling those calls in games as well, you know. So there is sort of set plays like that. It's probably less. There's probably less opportunities in Gaelic football as there is in rugby and basketball, because it's played at a faster pace. You know, there's not as much rucks and mauls and the ball's slowing down. It's just, but certainly it does happen, and you can see teams. And just look at the All-Ireland final last year, Armagh. You could see them actually calling them. You know, lads standing with the ball. Next thing, the hand goes up into the air as if, and next thing you can see them all going in at times. And there's another call, and next thing, you know, you see it from the camera behind the goals. They're set up. So like there's a lot of teams doing a lot of work for it. You know.
Yeah, no, and I suppose if they weren't disappointed enough, they would have been twice as disappointed. Probably 2 hours later. Big win for Meath against the Dubs, and Jesus, it was refreshing.
It was, like, you know, it's funny we were going down to the match and we were talking about, well, and I did, being honest with you, I thought Dublin would win, but I felt it was going to happen in the semi-final. You know, Dublin out of Croke Park. You know, I know maybe the Wicklow game, you know, Wicklow gave them their full of it for long periods in that game, and you were thinking maybe, you know, I know the first day a bit of rust coming off, but the crowd, the Meath crowd, you know, that's lost in Croke Park, and getting them into a battle in Meath, you know, the first half performance was huge. And it's funny, I listened to Robbie Brennan talking after it. He was a little bit concerned going into half time, thinking it was only 12 points up. You know what I mean? It's just back to your point, Podge, the power, how important those 2-pointers are. And obviously the Dubs playing with a strong win, and then the ball is thrown in and Conor Callahan gets it and bang, that 2-pointer straight away. I was thinking, but huge credit to Meath. They were awesome. There's no other word. You know, James Conlon was immense. Owen Frayne was immense. Costello was immense. Or Menton in the middle of the field was huge. You know, it was just a brilliant performance. Look, we knew Dublin's dominance. You know, they've lost huge, like, generational players over the last 2-3 years, and you just don't replace them. And I know the whole finances a stick to beat Dublin with, and you know, I personally, yeah, huge. Everyone needs money to be able to run their affairs and everything like that. And Dublin had that well. You know, John Costello was huge. He was like he ran it like a business and deserves huge credit for it. But you know, they definitely have come back into the pack. Like, saw them with their 20s against. Now we're no better at last week with their 20s, but you know, Louth going beating them, and you know, Dublin, the conveyor belt at underage isn't as strong as it was. You know. Yeah,
definitely so. No, I suppose they gave Dublin a mountain to climb. At half time, probably people will be still saying, the Dubs will come back, and it probably is. Like we spoke earlier on in the year, you talk about league games and you'd say how important the wind is with the conditions, and you'd say, when it comes to summertime though, it won't be as influential. But there was a strong wind in Portlaoise, and you have to take advantage of it. Obviously, look, we talk about 2-pointers. There's a lot more opportunities with a wind like that to get 2-pointers, but it actually even nearly comes down, like, at times it changes the game. It changes the game of two halves where Dublin are keep ball as much. Even sometimes, like, if you're getting up and you want to keep the scoreboard ticking, it was probably more important for Meath. But sometimes you're nearly even better to keep it than get in behind to get a point, because you're giving back possession to get down, kick a 2-pointer, get the pressure back up the pitch, and press like Cluxton, the best ever probably in goals, and struggled with kickouts, and Meath dominated that area. Big physical men, like hungry. Look, they're footballers too.
Well, I saw a stat. I think Mike Quirk might have had it on Twitter, where, and I'll surely get the numbers wrong, but anyway, it's something like Dublin lost 13 of their own kickouts. They haven't done that in 20 years. In every game in 20 years, they haven't lost 13 kickouts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
true,
So and 13 in the one game is just.
Do you think it was down to, like, you alluded to there talking about Clare, like, you have to have, like, you're going to kick a 2-pointer, you have to kick it, like, you have the balls to kick it, like, and they kicked it, like. Well, I think it was no fear.
No, I think they smelt blood. Look, it's been. You know, it's like anything in sport. There's two ways of looking at everything. Like the two coaches leave. Well, it's a choice now, lads. You can use that as an excuse, or you can use it as motivation, right? And I think, and I don't know, it's only my own thoughts. I think they smell blood, and you know, when you have quality on the pitch, which they do, and it stands out. The big one that stood out for me was Owen Frayne's point in the second half. You know, Dublin were after getting a couple of scores, you know, need to keep the scoreboard ticking, and he comes through the middle, gets inside the arc, into the wind, into the teeth of the wind, off the instep, straight, like he drills it over the black spot.
That's a massive score, yeah.
It's worth it. It's a point on the board, but it's worth so much more. And just that little small thing like that, the belief, you know, getting the belief. And
gets the crowd behind you.
Gets the crowd behind you. It stemmed the tide a little bit in Dublin. And sometimes and this is why, you know, sometimes you just know today's our day, we're in the zone, everybody's, you know, on the game. You know, there was a couple of really strong tackles put in where, you know, someone mentioned it on commentary where and again, I think it was the centre half back for Meath, Paddy Small wins the ball. Now, Paddy Small normally just clears everything in front of him and buries the ball or kicks it up, but the centre back just hit, you know, a young lad 20 or 21 hits him.
Nail him, yeah. I was doing wing forward, come back in, yeah.
Hits him with everything, gives away the free, but puts Paddy Small on his backside. Yeah. Like, that's worth, and the crowd and you can see the crowd, and it's just so
they definitely played with that aggression and probably have that physicality. They're big side to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And look at. That's happened before, you know, Meath and Croke Park and Leinster finals and over the last number of years, and Dublin just blow them out of the water. Do you know? So it can go two ways, but I certainly think Dublin did smell a little bit, or Meath smelt a little bit of blood and said, you know what, today's as good a time as any. And Dublin are coming back into the pack, albeit Podge, they'll still have a say. I don't think they're going to win in All-Ireland, but I think they'll have a couple of big scalps along the way. Yeah,
look, they're as you said, they're not a bad team overnight, but I definitely think looking at it, like Paddy Small was probably their big one up front that was causing trouble. Kenny maybe had a quiet one, yeah. Wasn't in it as much. Conor Callaghan was probably getting caught a little bit away from goals, especially the first half. In fairness for the goal, he was brilliant. Finds the right pass. But they didn't. You go back 5-6 years, they're bringing them lads off the bench and onto a lad to finish the job, and not they're well good enough to start, but maybe they don't have the firepower to come behind them. You know, you were kind of saying with 10-20 minutes to go, you know, what have they got here? You were looking around. I know they brought on a few subs. They're probably not as, it's not a burner broken to come off the bench. You know, and even you see when they had the goal chance, man, coming through, goal chance dropped it. They weren't doing that 5-6 years ago, but it was refreshing. It was great.
Yeah, and it was like Meath bossed them around the middle in primary ball. You know, I'd say won so many of Dublin's kickouts, won so many of the run, and like that's aggression. It's lads clattering into breaks. It's maybe known, you know, that if a signal from the keeper it's going out here, that we get bodies around it. You know, they just were well tuned in on the day, and they got the rewards. And you don't. You're looking into a Leinster final with green eyes of envy from a Kildare point of view, because you would have felt that this day was coming and somebody had to be ready, and we would have hoped it was Kildare were going to be ready. But look at we weren't ready on the day. We didn't get over the line, but it would have been a brilliant position to be going in.
Yeah, it would. I'm sure Louth were just as delighted with us with Meath beating them. And look, it's a big job ahead going playing Meath, but I'm sure they'd rather be playing Meath than playing Dublin. People
So
would
they
nearly
want revenge.
People would nearly they definitely want revenge. Yeah, but people would say, you'd be talking to people and you'd say Clare and Louth, oh sure, you'd nearly rather lose than play Dublin, which obviously is a stupid comment.
I know, but
that's the way it's, and you can see why they'd be thinking that, as in Dublin have hammered teams in Croke Park and nearly set them back.
Yeah,
6 months. So it's definitely for Louth, as Yousef was, is that chance for revenge straight away. You're seeing the referee from it popping back up. You're seeing Joe Sheridan, I'd say his phone is hopping. All them things popping up, which look, I'd say it's fairly fresh in the memories. It was so look, it'll be,
but it'll take a life of its own too. There's pressure on Meath, because it'll all be thought, we beat the Dubs. No, I know they won't be talking that way, but it's the people they meet in the street, it's the lads, surely you'll win it now, lads, and all this sort of, you have to be very strong mentally. And then the other side of it is, like we've just mentioned, people in Louth who say, oh lads, it's now or never, glorious opportunity, revenge. Like, to those players taking the field, revenge has nothing got to do with it.
Yeah.
They weren't, like, it's 15 years ago. Some of them mightn't even remember. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could be 5 and 6 years of age. And that's where the strain. And I know that, listen, management will have lots of really good people and psychologists around teams, but that's only noise, really. And I genuinely feel that both Louth and Meath, which is brilliant, will have a glorious opportunity to win a Leinster final,
Were you having a nap yesterday?
It's 2 weeks in a row, Johnny. You're barred, lad. You're barred.
Yeah, that's the dinner. The dinner's burnt. But what a Leinster final! Like, it's a novelty, and we're looking forward to it.
Do you think it's I don't know what the attendance was the last couple of years, but do you think that's going to ramp up straight away? Like, it's going to be. I remember even like going back, like working out in Wexford years ago when Wexford were going well and they got to the Leinster hurling final. Remember that? Like, there was the 67,000 or something like that, and you could feel it, like, for the first time in years. Do you think it's going to be something like that?
I think it will. Whether, like, what people want, like, it's never discussed in the dressing room or never discussed around the team. People want entertainment. That's what they're paying for, right? And some people say they're paying too much for it in GA circles. But anyway, that's another debate. They want to be entertained, and they want value for money, and they want to go to see competition, or feel like their team has a genuine chance, and that's what drives numbers up. If I think the numbers will, for a Leinster final, and maybe I'm wrong, I'd be hoping there'd be 45,000, 50,000. I'd be hoping, and maybe the rest.
Yeah.
I remember we played, like, it just goes to show the way things have gone. We played Dublin in a Leinster final in 2002, and I remember it more so of the fact that we were beaten. But I remember after the World Cup that year, was a World Cup year, and more people were at that Leinster final than there was at the World Cup final. Which is hard to believe, like a Leinster champion. So, that's how much it's digressed, and you can't. It's not Dublin's fault, but people are going to be going up there, Louth, Meath, and neutrals, to say, and going to this because there's a new name on the cup, and it's, as I say, both teams will fancy the chances to have a go.
Yeah, I think it was 2011 we played Dublin in a Leinster minor final. And you were playing after, the seniors playing Dublin after, and for the last 20 minutes of the minor game, it was brilliant. There was about 50,000 in, because they were all kind of coming in to get the tail end. I remember Derek Mulhall kicking one into the hill and giving them
wouldn't be like Derek.
He came alive when the crowd came. But like, it was brilliant. But as you say, I remember going in after the game, we drew. You get changed, you're getting back out to watching the senior game, walking out, and it was packed stadium, full.
Was that 11 or 9? Was that when McLaughlin tackled Brogan?
No, that was 2 years later.
Was it?
Yeah, I was on the bench with G that day. Yeah,
I think
it was the day Sherlock stuck.
Yeah,
Sherlock
that was
stuck one goal.
I think that was
yeah.
9. I think that was 9.
It was 09.
It was
was
9.
it?
It was
Yeah.
9
yeah.
because myself and Benny went up to watch you and the minors and stood on for the seniors. I remember it was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
nice.
That means you're 2 years older than you think you are.
Sorry to tell you that.
It shows. But yeah, no, as you say, it'll bring back that excitement. It'll bring back at the end of a game, lads going crazy and lifting the cup and excitement,
exactly.
rather than there's another one.
There's
And
another
look,
one.
fair play to the Dubs. When you do 15 in a row, maybe it does get to that stage. But no, it'll definitely, from a neutral point of view, and for Meath and Loud supporters,
And
they're both going there with a live
But
chance.
the Leinster Championship needs it and needs it bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
well, they're talking about scrapping it for.
They were.
for
Yeah.
how long?
They were even talking that just to start this season about scrapping it and talking about that. And like suddenly, like that's obviously the catalyst that needed to happen this year. Is that it's
No, it will.
it's
And look,
back
it
now,
gives
you know.
teams more hope going forward. As you said, the Dubs coming back, Kildare will be disappointed that they didn't do it this year. But like, you know, it's they're probably talking. There's a lot of young players coming in, and so hopefully build towards something to build for in the next few years. I suppose just looking at today's draw, was made for the Talton Cup, and it probably is. I suppose we spoke about Kildare don't want to be in the Talton Cup, but you have to go and win it, and it is like looking at their draw. Sligo, Leitrim, and Tipperary. They're, for a player, they're probably not the most exciting games, and that's not been disrespectful. But you're probably not going to get a big crowd at them early stages. So it's probably trying to stay tuned in, go and win your games, get to your semi-final, final, get a crowd behind you, and win it, and show they are the best.
Yeah,
best
well,
team.
I think that's the way us as supporters will think about it. Definitely, Brian, his management team and players will just, and it's the old cliche, but it's perform. I'm not sure it's the Tipperary the first one or
No, Leitrim
Leitrim at home. That is about chasing the perfect performance.
Did you hit the snooze button?
You are definitely sacked. You are sacked.
It's the veg button.
That's to remind me to make a phone call. Anyway, but it is about you know, let's put in our best performance this year against Leitrim. That's what it will be. And they'll break it down how we're going to do that. And you know, let's see where that takes us. Then we're going to get away to Sligo. Tough game.
Sligo's the one that you kind of say.
Tough game.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe, you know, if you know, it doesn't go the way you want the first game, or maybe performance is a bit low, you know, against Leitrim, and maybe you know the outside noise, they weren't great, they should beat Leitrim by so much in the league, and all this sort of stuff can affect the next, you know, and that's what it is. It's building, you know, like it's mad how in Kildare we keep falling into the trap of, you know, like I was coming out of Tullamore, and I'm, you know, different people. We may just go and win the Talent Cup. It's like they were going to, you know, order a pizza. Yeah. Like it doesn't work that way. And that does affect the players, and like it does, because they're under social media, and they're, you know, whether you want it or not, if you're very disciplined, these are young lads. There's no point saying, you know, I'll stay off social media. They don't, like, this is what they grow up with. They're going to, and like, we'll win the Talent Cup when the referee blows the whistle and we're 1 point ahead of the team we're playing. That's the only time we'll win it. We can't win it against Leitrim, or we can't win it against, and that, I know it's a cliche, but that is the way they're going to have to get so driven. Job done, move on, next job, and bit by bit, and like there's no guarantees we're going to win it. But the ways people say, I'm just going to win it, like it used to be years ago. They used to say, like, when we get a bit of a run, oh, you need to concentrate on Leinster, and I'm thinking, here lads, do you think we're not, like, no, we just got beaten. 60%. We went out in a match and got beaten. It happened to be, you know, Louth in 10. You know, Wicklow and 08. We just got beaten. We weren't good enough for that 70 minutes. But like, do you think we want? You know, it's just mad stuff.
I know. This is the thing.
For Kildare is about, you know, we are playing at the level we are at the moment. That's it. Now, you know, we could have been in Leinster final and could be Leinster champion, but we're not. And we have to go and perform to the best of our ability every day and see where that takes us. And that's what Brian, and I would say what Brian and his management will be focused on. You know?
Just quickly looking at the Sam Maguire draw was made today, it's probably a strange one when provincial finals haven't been played, and suppose Galway and Mayo this weekend, and their group stands out, I suppose. Just looking here, you have your Connacht champs, you'll either have the losers of Donegal and Armagh, which is 50-50, and is a tricky one, Dublin and Derry, so it's probably the real group.
That's all in the one group.
That's the group of death. I suppose Derry have been having a poor year. It's a big group to face into for them. Look, does it take away from either team?
I don't think it does, but and you know, there's one way of looking at it is like you're saying, is in the back of maybe Mayo or Galway singing on Jenny, if we win this. Now they're going into a kind of final, they will be going to win it regardless and going into as Connacht champions. But I suppose for the other teams that are, you know, the Cavans and Derrys, and now they can focus. You know, so other than that, the draw won't be made till after the Ulster Championship, which is 2 weeks' time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or well, not 2 weeks now, but it'll be a week and a half time. And Cavan and whoever, you know, they're knocked out. They've nothing to focus on. Where now they can say, right, let's get planning for who we have in our group. So it's you know, there's pros and cons of it happening.
I think it should be after. Like, I think if Cavan are waiting, they should be waiting because they got bet, like, or you know, they've been knocked out. No, but you know, it's an unusual one that you're looking at a group Ulster champs. Like, just wait until you know, and then draw the teams. I know there was a lot of kind of talk about it last year.
This the first year they done it though.
No, they done it last year.
Did they do it last year?
Given out about it, and then turned around and done it again. But look, it'll.
We're slow to change in the GA.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking to about in 10 years' time.
I suppose looking at the Munster final then this weekend, you have Kerry and Clare. Look, you'd expect again Kerry to go and do their job. Got a scare last day against Cork.
They did get a scare, yeah.
Is it actually not too sure actually what location it's in? If it's in, I think it could be in Kerry. Is it? I think it'll be back and forward. I actually got to do homework on that one.
But Clare will take a bit of a joy out of watching what Cork did to. You know, Cork were really, really unlucky not to win that game, and look at a bit like we'll all go in and say we'll tip Kerry, and for loads of reasons, and you'd expect them to go, as you say, get the job done, but that's sport. There's that little bit of hope, the underdog, no one giving us a chance, nothing to lose here. You know, maybe a decision or two doesn't go your way. Just sometimes it's in the stars, isn't it?
Well, you've nothing to lose. Like, if someone's expecting you to lose, if you go out and lose, well, people expect you. If you go out and win, you're the world. Like, you know, that's what I'm saying. So you have nothing, like, take off the shackles and just go for it. Now I know, like, look, within reason, like, as well, like, you know, but sometimes it is sometimes nearly the best position to be in, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose it'll come down to, you know, maybe how tactically they go about the game. You know, like, you don't want it. Like, Clare normally are play a running game and a running team, and you know, they will feel that they'll get joy if they can get bodies up the field, and you know, they've some good kickers and stuff like that. But if they get turned over, the next thing there's a goal or two, and it's over by half time, or you know, Kerry get a run, yeah. So it's getting that balance right. It's having a go, but when to have a go, you have to stay in the game. You know, if you're going in maybe 10 minutes into the second half and there's Kerry or 9 or 10 points up,
it's a big,
you know, the crowd
mountain to climb.
It is, yeah. So it's just getting when do you go? It's just getting that balance right for Clare. They have to stay in the game.
I definitely think Kerry had their scare, and I definitely fancy Kerry to go on and win handsomely. But as you said, and the big thing for Clare is not totally writing them off. As you say, they're a good side. Kerry are just exceptional. But it's that, as you say, if Kerry go and put 4 or 5 goals and you drop the heads, and all of a sudden you take a beating, which has happened before, as you know, Johnny and Fuzz, when you're in a dressing room, like, it's hard sometimes to. Then you're looking, whatever you're facing, into a group where you Munster runner-ups. You know, you could be going Meath, Monaghan down. Actually, it's not too bad. Yeah. But you know, like, it's hard to nearly pick up and go again. But no, it'll be certainly interesting to see. And I suppose we better give Robbie a mention, even though Sean's away. But we're just looking at Leinster and Northampton this weekend, and there was an interesting one there. I think Fuzzy had pointed out that last year in Croke Park you had a sellout, and this year they're struggling to fill the Viva. You nearly wonder, does it come back like the last 2 Leinster games, they haven't conceded. I don't think they've actually conceded in the last 2 games, and they've thrown out Hydens in the Heineken Cup.
Yeah. No, they haven't conceded. No,
Haven't conceded. Does it nearly become that kind of a Dubs kind of a thing where you're going, oh, is it going to be that exciting? Or, you know, what is the handicap 30 that you're to know that you're going? Are they going to be hammering? I don't know. It's an unusual one that they're not.
Yeah, and
in the space of a year.
Yeah, and it's like I thought it was mad. Like I seen it earlier on, and I said it to you. Like I said, that's outrageous. Like, it was 82,063 or something last year's one, and yeah, it just said like apparently plenty of tickets still to be sold for 5 o'clock on Saturday. Like, you know, and I just thought it was mad. And the Aviva only holds 60,000. Like, you know, so yeah, but maybe it is that case. You wouldn't know. Like I'm by no means any rugby aficionado. I don't know what way the Saints are and stuff like that, like, you know, but obviously it's the very same fixtures it was last year, like, you know. So I think there's the couple up the top of rugby, and then everyone seems to be down the bottom, like, you know. And of course Leinster are top. Like, I know they didn't get over the line last year, but like I'd say there's an enormous amount of pressure on them at the moment, like from hearing outside noise, like, you know, you can hear it, like with the likes of Jordy Barrett there, and obviously Rico Wani coming next year and all like that, and everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, Leinster this and Leinster that, like they're expected to win everything now, like, and that's an added pressure in itself, like, you know. But as you said, maybe it is that effect now, like, you know. Now, look, you couldn't see it being a whitewash on Saturday against the Saints, like you couldn't see it.
Yes. No, well, as I said, yeah, no, it is that it's expected. It's very seldom that a team would walk to a Heineken Cup and there's going to be a scare along the way somewhere. But yeah, no, it'll.
But it's back to that point, you know, people want to be entertained, and if they think it's not going to be an entertaining game, they're not.
Yeah, they might be as
it's a long weekend. The weather's supposed to be good.
That's
you know,
the thing, yeah.
So all these things come into it. Maybe even Trump, you know, cost of living is getting more, you know.
Oh my God! Stop.
Trump pulling all the American companies out, lads. If it affects the rugby player with all their money, just to pour out GAs, fake that.
This is going to turn into a political podcast. We're all going to be thrown out.
We'll have Shawnee back anyways next week.
You give us the nuts and balls.
Yeah,
give us the nuts and balls. Yeah.
No, look, that's it for episode 8. Thanks to Fuzzy and thanks to Johnny. We're the All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast on Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you download your podcast. We're there. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Cheers, Podge.